So you remember that DC animated movie tournament that we started a few months back? You probably don't, but it's okay. It's back. This is going to be Batman Under the Red Hood versus The Death of Superman. I'll be debating for Batman Under the Red Hood, and Arkanized will be debating for The Death of Superman. Go ahead and introduce yourself if they don't remember you.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm like this dude's best internet friend. I mean, what? But anyways, debating for The Death of Superman. So, yeah, hi.
In Under the Red Hood is very much connected to Batman even before Batman discovers it is Jason. The Red Hood ties to the Joker are incorporated extremely well. All the flashback scenes showcasing Jason while he was Robin did a good job of showing the audience that Jason was always a little rough around the edges. The movie wastes no time delving into the story it wants to tell, with the opening scene being Jason's death. Ra's al Ghul feeling partially responsible for Jason's death was a great use of his character and gave a good reason as to why he would want to resurrect Jason. This is also the best version of Black Mask in anything, and the war between he and Red Hood is a fun watch throughout the film. When Black Mask eventually results to hiring the Joker, it kinda makes sense, as he felt he had nowhere else to turn to in order to take down Red Hood. This was all part of Jason's plan to get himself and the Joker alone though, which was genius. And the ending fight between he and Batman was absolutely amazing, and then that final encounter with he, Batman, and the Joker all alone in that room, and Jason just telling Batman, why is he still alive? I thought I would be the last person you'd let him hurt. It was really heartbreaking and heartfelt coming from Jason. And seeing his point of view, it all made sense. But also Batman's point of view made sense as he explains it. If he goes down that path, he'll never come back. And I think that's one of the best reasons for Batman not killing ever. And in the end, Batman thinks his way through the situation that Jason puts him in, which is he has a gun to the Joker's head and he's telling Batman, if you don't kill me, I'll kill the Joker. So he's putting Batman in the situation to either save the Joker or let the Joker die. And Batman manages to find a way to do both, save Jason and save the Joker. But we don't see Jason's body because the building explodes. We are left seeing the Joker, we don't see Jason's body. I'm guessing we're left to assume that he's still alive. But the movie ends on this really bitter note of a flashback of Jason one more time, and he's saying, it's the day he's just become Robin, and he's saying, this is the best day of my life. So the movie ends on a very sour note, just as it started, so it's kind of like a bookend.
Okay, so, in The Death of Superman, it tells the story of, arguably, I would say, like, Superman's most famous story, which is his fight against Doomsday, which at the end, he is killed by the rampaging monster. I think this is definitely the best version of this story. The impact of Superman's death at the end is very, very well done. We see it affect both the people closest to Superman and the entire world in general. The animation and action are very good. There's some incredible fight scenes in this. I do love Clark and Lois's relationship in it, and I think this movie strikes the perfect balance between being very enjoyable, but also having some deep themes running throughout. The Justice League is in this movie to help in the fight against Doomsday, and I think their involvement was done quite well. I do like how Doomsday does feel like Doomsday in this movie. You know, he feels powerful, he feels like a threat, not so much like the Batman v Superman Doomsday that we see. And the movie also sets up the next movie very well while staying contained and allowing it to have its own story just as well. And I've never been a Superman fan, but I feel like most people who watch this, you know, they can really get behind Clark's story, and I really like that. Superman killing Doomsday is actually really, really well done at the end, and I like how Lex Luthor kind of saves the world in this by allowing Superman the time to get back up and save Lois and kill Doomsday, but in doing so, you know, he's worn himself out too much and has taken too much punishment, so, you know, he dies, and the climax and conclusion is very satisfying. And I think one of the most interesting parts of this movie is how they incorporated Clark Kent's human life into this and making it interesting. It's not just about him being Superman and punching Doomsday. It's about his interactions with his family and with Lois and with Jimmy Olsen that I really, really love about this movie. So I think this is an enjoyable movie. It's the best version of the story. It has some great action scenes. Doomsday is a really good villain. The impact of Superman's death is done very, very well. I like the Justice League's involvement. And even though its sequel was, in my opinion, a little bit disappointing, this movie set it up very well, and I do think Death of Superman is a great DC animated movie.
Under the Red Hood incorporates its supporting characters extremely well also. The dynamic between all of them are great and elevate the movie, whether it's Red Hood's interactions with Batman, Joker, Black Mask, or Batman's interactions with Nightwing and Ra's al Ghul. They are all done extremely well. Also, Jason really wants to remind Bruce how great of a failure the Joker is for him, not only sporting the mantle he formerly held, but also taking Batman back to Ace Chemicals and having him relive the moment the Joker was born. The line Jason gives to Batman while they are there is kind of heartbreaking, but it's kind of true. He says something along the lines of, "This is the side of your first failure, maybe your greatest, but not your last." Then later on in the movie, Batman tells Alfred that Jason's life and his death are his greatest failure, and that he's a hell of his own making. So this really just gives you a perspective of how Bruce is thinking and how he's looking at this. And he also says, "I'm going to carry that like I carry everything else," so that just gives you an insight on all the guilt that Batman is carrying with him, and this is just added to that exponentially. And also in the flashbacks with Jason as Robin, they used the Riddler, which was awesome just because he's such an iconic Batman villain. So they incorporated Joker, Ra's al Ghul, and the Riddler all seamlessly into one film, and it fit the narrative perfectly.
So you do mention how in Under the Red Hood, it kind of has this book ending where, everything kind of comes full circle, ending on a sour, just like how the beginning started. And while I do think this works very well, part of me just wishes they had kind of wrapped things up a little bit differently, having it come full circle and giving Jason a little bit of a redemption arc towards the end, and then you go into that "this is the best day of my life," tying everything together. And I also wanted to talk about how, while Jason's death basically is the first scene, this does set the tone very well and influences the rest of the story. But I think if they had it just a little bit later on in the movie, we could have had just a little bit more of time to see Batman and Jason's bond and, what they were kind of working towards before Jason was killed. And Death of Superman, I just think, flows so nicely, leading up to an epic climax with the big Superman Doomsday fight where Superman is eventually killed. And I think just the flow of it works very nicely. Starting off with Doomsday coming to Earth and Clark kind of enjoying his more human life, and then eventually having, take up the tights and go and fight Doomsday, resulting in his death that affects the entire world. And so it has some great villains, obviously Under the Red Hood does too, but I think the way they handled everything just works really well. And Under the Red Hood, there's just a few things where, if they did something a little bit differently, for me, it could have gone to an A+, to an A++.
Under the Red Hood is just a very emotional, humane story, and it showcases the dynamic between characters extremely well. I think it gives you enough time with Batman and Jason as Robin to show their bond, and without skimping on Red Hood. The Red Hood ties to the Joker are done extremely well, and it just makes him fit better into the narrative. Also, Jason's resurrection makes a lot more sense with Ra's al Ghul being tied in and the guilt he feels for Jason's death. I just think this is a really well put together film that comes full circle in the end and tells a well structured narrative.
And the death of Superman takes what I would say is one of DC's most famous storylines from the comics and puts it up on the screen seamlessly, which several adaptations have failed to do, in my opinion, in the past. It's a very well-structured movie that takes what is almost like a godlike character and kind of humanizes him while having some insane action scenes, really good-looking animation, and a pretty heartwarming love story kind of thrown in there as a subplot, and I just think it is a great movie.
Okay, so now we're gonna kick it to you guys. There should be an info card in the upper right hand corner. Vote for which movie you think we gave the best argument for, not necessarily which movie you enjoy better. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, go subscribe to Arkaniz's channel. His channel link will be in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys sometime.